today. So again, I'm Dominique. I'm here also in person with Brian, who is from the Enterprise team. Enterprise Community Partners is a national nonprofit. We are based locally in 11 states. So we have 11 market offices, but we have a footprint that is national. Here in Southern California, we service from Bakersfield all the way down to San Diego. Again, we want to thank all of our partners. Today in this work, we are working with the Center by Lendistry, who is a organization that has been supporting the recovery efforts, as well as Office of Office. They'll be joining us at the end of today's session to share more about their case management services that they're offering. This webinar is a part of a 6-part series. This is the 5th in that series. We had 4 prior to this. The first one was really about outlining the options for rebuilding. Then we had one focused on financing. We had a great session on manufactured factory-built homes and ADUs, where the Foothills catalog came, as well as Villa Homes and MPHS. Our last session just focused on fire-resistant materials and making sure we are rebuilding to that standard, and then also the different requirements that are part of the local code and what your home needs to be rebuilt with to comply with those codes. Today's session will have a little piece of all of those sessions, and then we're going to be joined by the United policyholders to really talk about fraud prevention and making sure that we know how to select contractors and we're not having any insurance fraud or anything like that. And then we have one closing session that will be focused on our renters and our manufactured homeowners. Our funders, we have US Bank, Wells Fargo, and BMO. So thank you all so much for your support in helping us be able to put these webinars on. A little housekeeping for today. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function, or you can raise your hand. This is our first hybrid session, so there may be some kinks that you saw in the beginning, but we are here to support, and please just let us know if you're having any audio issues and things like that. If you need translation, we do have translation available and closed captioning on the Zoom. All of the materials today are going to be uploaded into the LA Rebuild Hub, which is a newly launched website. It has all of the recordings from the prior sessions, as well as a Rolodex of vetted contractors. And if we have time today, I have that at the very end of the session, and we'll go through the website. It just launched publicly last week. At first, I was just sharing it with those that were attending our webinars, but now we have it fully ready for everyone in our community to use. And I will just close with just one reminder. Please no sales pitches. So if you are here, from your own contracting company, please avoid those sales pitches in the Q&A function. We want this to be a space of learning for those that are here for the resources. A disclaimer to start that the information in this presentation is for general purposes only. It does not constitute any legal, financial, or insurance advice, because all individual circumstances do vary. So please consult with a licensed professional that truly understands your individual circumstance before you make a decision about rebuilding. All right. Here is a brief agenda for us today. We're going to start by really outlining what an estimated timeline is, some types of expenses that you may encounter, how to build out your budget, who should be on your development team. And then we're going to be joined by Annie from the United Policyholders. She's going to outline really what to look for when you're selecting a contractor. And then Office of Office is going to speak on their case management services that they're offering to residents. And so we're going to start with how to build a realistic timeline. So as you may know, rebuilding is a process that is very long. Let me move it so you can see on the screen there for those that are here in person. Rebuilding takes a long time. It's going to take about 24 to 36 months in total. And there are a lot of factors that really influence this. So number one is the permitting approval timeline. And on the next slide, we'll outline how long each part of the timeline is going to be. Then it's also contractor availability, your ability to secure contractors that you feel comfortable with moving forward. Material availability, as more homes start to get developed at the same time, there may be some shortages in availability of material. How complex you want your new home to be, as well as insurance, which I know this is a major factor in finances. Is how quickly your insurance payment is coming, if you need any other financial resources, and trying to secure additional funding to make sure you're able to rebuild. And then also just the time that you actually need to sit down with a team to develop your plans. And so this timeline was actually created by Office of Office. So thank you all for creating this timeline. And it has it into 4 categories. So you have planning. So this is the time right now that you're spending to really think about how you want your home to look. How do you want the new design to look, and what is my budget, right? So that's going to take about 4 to 6 months. Then you have the design. Next, you have the permitting, which is going to take about 4 months in total at the most, because right now you have the expedited permitting approval through the county. Permitting has been going a lot shorter. We've been hearing 8 weeks for a lot of homes. So that's great news, especially historically, it's taken a lot longer to get through the permitting process. And then you have construction. Construction is going to be your longest period of your timeline, because it includes the actual physical construction, but then also the inspections that happen along the way, and actually getting all of your inspections before you're able to get your final occupancy, your certificate of occupancy. There are 5 steps with permitting. The first is checking your property's zoning. So if you are in the city of LA, that's CMIS. If you are in LA County, that is CNET. These are both 2 online websites, and we'll make sure to share the actual website name in the recap email, that you can search your property address and actually see what you are allowed to rebuild for your parcel. It also outlines if you are located in a high fire hazard zone, or if you're located in a flood zone. And so there are different requirements when you are rebuilding that are required by law because you live in those zones. And then you want to prepare your application. You're making sure that you are gathering all of your materials. And so if you have already assembled members of your design team, making sure that you are working closely with your architect or the other members of your team to make sure that the application that you are submitting is aligned to their requirements. I will also share, and then we have it in a slide coming up, that the county has in-person locations where you're able to have your application reviewed to make sure that everything is perfect before you submit it all for approval. Then when you also are preparing your application, it's important to know if you want to rebuild the same, so like for like, or if you want to increase your square footage or add an ADU, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the presentation as well. The third is actually submitting your permit application. This can be done in person or online. And then you're going to have the review process. There are going to be multiple cycles of comments that are going to come back. It's completely normal. You're going to get feedback. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong in the process. They're going to have questions, and it's important to respond to those questions in a timely manner to make sure that your application is approved and you're able to start construction. And then once your construction does start, you're going to have those inspections and final approvals. And so aligns to step 2, which is preparing your application. So I mentioned the like for like. So if you are building your home in the same square footage, there's a little bit of a grace period there. I believe it is 10%. So if you are building within 10% of the square footage that you originally had in your home will not be reassessed. If you are increasing the square footage, like adding a little bit more, you are going to get reassessed, which means your property taxes will increase. So if you do like for like, your property taxes will remain the same and just increase gradually year over year. If you add the additional square footage, this is considered less than 50%, So let's say if your home is the 1,400 square feet and you add on an additional 700 square feet, that does not constitute a full reassessment. The only thing that will be reassessed is the additional square footage that was added. But if you are doing substantial alterations to your home, more than 50%, this does constitute a full reassessment, and you will have the additional property taxes in that manner. And then it's also important before you submit your application, you decide if you want to add an ADU, because that will also impact how your property is reassessed. Important permitting mistakes are delays in getting started, as well as not fully understanding, again, not taking the steps to look at the ZNet, the ZEMIS website to know what you're actually allowed to build, and not having proper organization. When you are going in this process, having not only a physical record, but if possible, a digital record that you can go back to so that you can keep track of your permitting approvals and timelines is very important to make sure that you are not having any delays in your process. These are the locations for the permit centers that I was referencing. So the one here is on Woodbury. Is that the address? I don't know, but yeah, down the block from here, have in-person locations for you to do the consultation with them in person. And then if you are in the Palisades area, for anyone that is on the Zoom, this is the one-stop shop for you in that location. Next, we're just going to go through a few of the expenses that you can expect to encounter when you are rebuilding. So you have different categories. You have your soft costs, and then you have your direct costs. And so your soft are the things that go along with preparing the site. So your permitting, your contractor fees, and then your architect fees, or your fees that you're paying to those that are part of your development team. Then you have your direct costs, which are the actual costs that go into constructing the physical building. So all the things listed here on the screen, your foundation, your framing, roofing, all of your finishings, and everything listed here, so fixtures. And so it's important to think of them in these two categories. We have several templates. So if you go to the LA Rebuild Hub, we have a template for you to outline these expenses and build it out in a budget for you all that has not only like your estimated costs, but as you are going through the rebuilding process, actually putting in what it is, the actual cost so far. So you have your projected, your actual, so you can see how you're aligned if you're on track with your budget. Again, we had the session earlier this month on fire resilient materials. So I encourage you all to watch that recording as well. But want to highlight that it's very important to include a line item for fire resilient materials, even if your home is not located in a high fire zone. If you are in a high fire zone, you are required to rebuild to these standards. But even if you're not, we know that, you know, fire season is not a season anymore. It's an entire year, and we don't know the pattern of future disasters. And so it's important to consider these type of materials when you are rebuilding. And so first, it's the roof. And so making sure you have a Class A roof, that your gutters have the proper screens on them, that you are doing the maintenance for your property on a regular basis and removing any debris in the gutters. For your chimney and vents, we know that embers travel and they enter through these areas. And so making sure that you have the proper vents. But the last webinar, we said if you're able to stick a pin through the vent is too wide. So making sure it's 1/8 of an inch. Those are the size holes that you're looking for the vents that you are putting, for the meshing that you're putting on top of the vents. And then windows and siding, making sure that you're using things that are non-combustible. So these are the 3 areas that I'm highlighting today, but there are lots of materials and things to think about, fire resilient materials to think about when you are rebuilding. And so please make sure that you are including that in your budget. The Office of State Fire Marshal, they have a list on their website that outlines all the materials as well. And we were joined last webinar by the United States Green Building Council of California, and they also have published a guide for homeowners. So I'll include that in the recap email where they outline all the steps that we should be taking as we are rebuilding. Your insurance company, it's important to check your plan, will cover some of the upgrades to the fire resilient upgrades. And so listed here on the screen are some of the things that they may cover. And so it's important to check with them. Again, everyone has a different insurance plan, but they may cover those as you are rebuilding. Now we're just going to briefly talk about your budget and how to build a budget for your rebuild. Now, I see one question. Let me make sure. Okay, good to go. So, we wanted to share estimated cost of how much it's going to generally cost for a rebuild. Again, everyone's rebuild is different, but this is putting the rebuild into these categories here. So, architectural and design. So, it should be an estimated up to 10% of your total rebuild. Engineering, so working with your civil engineer, your structural engineer, it should be about up to 3% of your budget. And this budget is based on a single family home in Altadena that was a little bit over 1,500 square feet. Then you have your permitting and the costs that go with applying. They have waived a lot of the costs for submitting your application, but still want to include a little bit in your budget in case anything changes. So up to 3% there. Construction is going to take the bulk of the budget. So actually, physically rebuilding your home is going to take a bulk of the budget. Those upgrades, so 5%, a small amount of the total budget can make a huge difference in making sure that your home is still there in the long term. Then you have your legal. You want to always build in some contingency because things happen. Timelines rarely stay on track. Budgets never stay on track. And so we hope they do, but we want to plan for when they don't. And so important to include that in your budget as well. And so if we're just putting this into categories, if we're thinking about that single family home that is a little bit over 1,500 square feet, you're looking at a total rebuild cost that is close to 1.2, which is a substantial amount of money. And this is based on $500 per square foot for a rebuild. And this information was pulled from LA County Recovers. Just want to note that as well. And so I just now want to talk about the type of financing that you can use to cover these rebuild costs. So you can use your personal savings. And we don't want you to use your personal savings to cover your entire rebuild, but when you think about your deposits for your contractor or your architect, you can use those to place your deposits. Want to flag that in the state of California, a deposit cannot be more than 10% or $1,000, whichever is less. So when you are working and securing your new contractors, making sure that you are not putting out a deposit that is larger than that, and that's a red flag if they're asking for a large amount of money. There is the insurance payment, but please note that the insurance payment for a lot of insurers comes in, it does not come in a lump sum. So they're going to pay you over installments. And so making sure you are building that out or thinking about that, being conscious of that as you're rebuilding and planning out for your rebuild. There is FEMA assistance up to $43,000, a little bit over $43,000. And then you have an SBA loan that you can use for construction. And so if we apply these financing products to put together your rebuild, there's still going to be a gap, most likely, and many homeowners are experiencing this gap. And so to cover this gap, so if we were to apply all of the ones that I just showed on the last screen, thinking it's going to be a little bit over 50,000 of a gap or more. It just depends on, your insurance payment, or if you're able to secure the SBA loan that, does look at credit score and things like that. And so we put together a directory of grants. Many of the partners that we have identified on the spreadsheet are here and have offices in this room. And then I will also flag that SoCal Edison, is doing the settlement payment. I know a lot of residents are very, nervous about trusting SoCal Edison. The Department of Angels has put together a protection tool that allows you to input information about your home. and give you an estimate of how much SoCal Edison will be able to provide to you, and you could use that for your rebuild. And I'll again attach all of this information to the email there. And if we have time, I'll open it up so you can see what that looks like as well. And so tips to stay in budget, considering a smaller footprint, something that's more simple. And then also, again, I want to note that if you are increasing that square footage of your home, it may increase an additional reassessment for your home for property taxes. Some more cost efficient rebuild. So we had the session a couple of months ago on the prefabricated options. We're really highlighting it as an option that not only is cheaper, but also gets you back home quicker. A lot of the organizations already have pre-approved plans that are allowing you to get through the permitting process very quicker in half the time as it would be for a traditionally built single family home. And so here on the screen, we have an image from Villa Homes. I saw they have information in this building as well. They make sure that all of their designs include fire resilient materials. So that's another benefit of going with prefabricated options. You don't have to build that into your budget. They already include that. And then many of these also come with appliances already as well. The other is building with an ADU. So not only you can use the ADU to have additional income to offset the rebuilding costs. You can use it for intergenerational living. Foothill, they have put together a wonderful catalog. It's here in the corner. They have tons of pre-approved plans, and they're adding ones constantly. They've done several showcases in person, and they also presented at the last session. And so I encourage you all to take advantage of these. So they can also help you to save costs as well as money. And then here in Altadena, there is still SB4 that many homeowners can take advantage of, which allows you to subdivide your lot and build potentially 2 homes on 1 lot. And so something to keep in mind to offset costs. And so Annie shortly is going to go through how to select a contractor, but I wanted to just quickly go over who's going to be on your design team. So you have an architect. So this is a person that actually is going to create the plan. They're going to look at what your insurance covers and then the local building codes and put together a plan that not only, is reflective of the needs that you want in your new rebuild. Then you have your general contractor. So this is the person that is going to manage your rebuild process, manage all of the subcontractors that are working on your site. You have the project manager. This is an optional role. So you can take on the role as a project manager, or you can hire an additional person. It's helpful if you hire someone because it takes the stress off of yourself, but it is an additional cost, and they help to coordinate all of the different timelines from the different vendors and making sure that everyone stays aligned. You have your landscape architect, and they map out your defensible space and making sure that you are thinking about not only the fire resilient materials that are attached to your home, but building out your landscaping so that you have the defensible space there. And then you have the engineers, structural and civil, that are also work to make sure that the home is rebuilt to the codes. And so when you are working with all of these individuals, it's a lot. And so making sure that you are selecting people that are trustworthy, that you can have clear communication with, that they are answering the phone when you call is very important. And so now I'm going to switch over to Annie. And so Annie, I will invite you to join us now and introduce yourself. Thank you, Annie, so much for joining us from United Policyholders.
Thank you. Let me get my screen up and going. Replace current share. My name is Annie Barber. I am the, there we go. I am the, sorry about that, folks. Can you see that? Perfect. So I am the recovery coordinator from United Policyholders. I'm also a 2017 Tubbs Fire survivor from Santa Rosa. And So I wear two hats in this. A little bit about UP, if you're not familiar with us, we've been working in this space as a nonprofit for 35 years, helping people navigate their insurance after disaster. We do a lot of advocacy and we also do a lot of preparedness events. We're funded by donations and grants only, and we have a very small team. I think we have 12 employees. And then we utilize a lot of professional volunteers to get the answers to the questions you have. This is our LA library. If you haven't been on our site before, please stick to this to start with, because again, we have 35 years of information on our site, and it can become a little overwhelming if you're just stepping in. I'm not going to go over everything in insurance, but there are some things that you just need to be aware of. Your main buckets of coverage. If you are underinsured and you had other structures, coverage B, dwelling extension, and you are not going to rebuild that other structure, or you can't afford to, you can take that money and combine it with your dwelling coverage. They are required to allow you to rebuild your home. The three kinds of builds, I think everybody knows what a custom builder is. What I feel like is lacking is a lot of talk about production builders or semi-custom. So we're going to start with that just very briefly. So a lot of people have run out and gotten an architect and they're on their way, but they take those drawings to a builder and they say there's no way they can build it for what you have. You can navigate this by using a production builder or a semi-custom. A production builder, as Dominique was saying, will bring in preset master floor plans. It's like going to a subdivision and picking out new subdivision and picking out your floor plan, what will fit on your lot, and then the elevation, whether it's a stucco, whether it's a ranch style, all these different variations for the outside. And why this is important is because we are a year and a half in, and Dominique was just sharing how long it can take for your rebuild. This will expedite it. Because they just submit the pre-master floor plans and it goes through in about half the time, and then they're ready to go. They take care of the grading. They take care, you're not paying extra for architecture. All of that stuff is incorporated into a production build. So vetting a contractor seems really easy in the sense of, you're checking with contractor state license board, but there's so much more to it. This is a long-term relationship. Consider it a short-term marriage. And you need to make sure that you can communicate well with that contractor. Check at least 3 references and other build projects they've done. Make sure they've actually built an entire house, not just a remodel. Check their license. And check their bond. Is it new? It usually goes in a year-to-year, 2-year kind of increment. So if it's May of 25 to May of 26, and that bond was replaced in, say, January of 26, that's a red flag. That generally means that they had to go to mediation with one of their clients. It's a long process to get there, at least 6 months of, back and forth and back and forth. And they went to mediation and that contractor was deemed wrong. And so they were given the bond. So that's a huge red flag. Better Business Bureau, they should have a local office. And please make sure you Google them. There's a good amount of builders out there, and I'm not saying they're all like this because they're not, that have had problems that there's nothing on their license. And that's problematic. I know in Santa Rosa, in the Paradise Fire also, that we had a lot of newspaper articles that were written about them. So Google them and see if they come up. Look on Yelp. Vet them thoroughly. And when you're looking at those referrals, don't just ask them if they're happy to be home, they're happy about their home. Give them some questions to answer. Did the builder come in on time and budget? Were there change orders from themselves or the builder? Did this affect the final price and timeline? Did you get all of your lien releases? Were the subs well supervised? Did the builder communicate well and return your calls in a timely manner? Was the property kept clean? Have they rebuilt after a disaster? Many people say we want to use a local builder. That's great. I really would push you towards taking into account a builder who's built after disaster and knows how to navigate this. Did the builder come back after occupancy and fix things that were a problem? There will always be problems. There is not a single build that will happen that doesn't have something that needs to be fixed at some point. Your red flags are multiple licenses under different names, multiple bond companies, in business less than 3 to 5 years. The builder who's built the most homes has the least amount of problems. Claim to be local, but out of area phone number and not licensed in your state. And if they start with how much insurance do you have? I can build your house for that. That's a red flag. Your contracts, I can go over all of this. My best suggestion is use legal aid, use Betzedek, and have them review your contract. We're not attorneys. This contract, making sure that it is in place and it's properly written and that it takes you into account as well as the contractor, is huge in making sure you eliminate any problems in the future. Preliminary liens, you will all get those. You will be in a panic. They will come certified mail and you'll say, oh my God, someone's going to take my property. They're going to put a lien on it. This is a normal procedure during the rebuild. Every vendor or supplier, someone who's supplying all the wood for your build, will file one. That's how they are guaranteed payment. Your builder will pay them off after completion of the job. Some builders give them to you at the end of the build. Some give them to you as they pay it off. Just make sure you keep those preliminary lien notices and have one to check it off with a lien release at the end of the build. Many contractors who have not built after disaster can become financially challenged utilizing insurance dollars. So insurance is normally 3 drops of money. Contractors are used to either taking money directly from the homeowner or from an escrow account. 3 drops of money mean that your contractor has to carry a third of the components and the labor of your build before getting a check. So imagine that might be $200,000-$300,000. And is that feasible? Most builders do not understand this, and they can go bankrupt really easily. There is a way for you to protect yourself, and we're going to do that real quick. So fund control. Fund control is where you have somebody else, a bank, a company, taking care of the funds. So the entire conversation about the funding goes between the builder and the bank or the company. Takes you out of the equation. So you can utilize the escrow account that your mortgage company sets up. You can find a bank that will set up an escrow account for you, or you can utilize a company that can offer this as part of the oversight for your rebuild. Really important, folks. People in my fire, they did not have scam builders, but they had builders who did not know how to use insurance money. And so they would come to the homeowner and tell them that they needed more money to proceed. And all that homeowner wanted was to go home. So it was kind of an emotional hostage situation. But at the end of the day, somebody was left holding the bag where they would have maybe 50% of their build, and their builder would have 75% of the money. If you utilize fund control, that can never happen. If that builder walks, if you have a problem, if they go bankrupt, you still will have the resources to finish your build. You have 7 business days in a disaster declared disaster to cancel your contract with your contractor. So if at any time you get scared feet, you're waking up with heart palpitations, go with your gut. Dominique discussed this. Please talk to your builder about rebuilding a resilient home that you can get insurance on. It's IBHS Standards, which is an institute in South Carolina that is funded by the insurance industry that comes up with these standards. And this will be your best chance of you getting conventional insurance instead of California Fair Plan. And that's really important. Even though your build's going along, don't stop talking to your adjuster. Keep them informed of the progress. Tell them when, replacement value or code upgrades are being incurred. And if you have an issue or delay, let them know. Keep in touch, keep the money flowing, and do your part. Right now, everybody who has lost a home should have liability insurance on their property. And that stays on until you actually get occupancy, final occupancy, and your homeowner's policy comes into play. In the middle of that is builder's risk or course of construction insurance, which is the same thing, two different names. Don't know why. Wait until you get a builder. The builder, in a lot of cases, will supply this, and they will put the limits and they will put the time frame on it. Builder's risk insurance is a little complicated. Whether your builder gets it or you have to obtain it, just know that your name should be on the policy as an additional insured. This is something you'll pay for either way. It'll be a line item from the builder or it'll be something coming out directly out of your pocket. So this covers you from theft, fire, damage, and destruction during the process. Your homeowner's policy will not cover this. So you want to make sure, and then right before you get final occupancy, well, 30 days before you get final occupancy, you want to find a complete homeowner's policy. And you need to have that in place, ready to go the day before you get final occupancy. You do not want one single day without insurance. And that is my very quick overview of the challenges and ways to protect yourself. And I will put my email, I did not put it on here, I'm sorry. I will put my email in the chat or in the Q&A, actually, if anybody has any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Annie. Does anyone have any questions? So we have one question in the audience.
Where do they send notices of if our property, we cannot receive mail, like a PO box? Where do they send which address do they send the leads?
So we have a question on where they send the lien because they don't have physical addresses anymore. Do they send it to the PO box?
Right. So wherever you have set up to have your mail come to, you'll give that to your builder, and your builder will share that with all of the subs.
Any other questions? Any questions for those that are joining us virtually? You can use the Q&A box as well.
And I also should share with you that, I used a production builder. I was not willing to go in debt. I had a 1970s tract home that I'd done a lot of work on. A production builder gave me economy of scale. It was a 6-month rebuild, and it got me back home quicker, and I have absolutely no complaints. Many people in my neighborhood use custom. Now, I should say it's probably a 50-50 split. A lot of those people had to dive into their retirement. They have a lot of debt hanging over their head. So just go out there and check what people offer and make sure you're making the right choice for yourself.
And thank you, Annie. We had a question on your email address. I know I'll share it in the recap email, but I'm not sure if you want to share it right now too.
It's Annie@uphelp.org. ANNIE at uphelp.org.
Awesome. Any other questions? It's Annie,
Yep.
ANNIE at uphelp.org. It looks like we have one question that came in. They said, excellent presentation. So thank you, Annie.
Great. Happy to hear.
Awesome.
And I will say that we have a host of information on the website. If you have questions beyond, just give me a holler and I'll send you whatever we have on it because we have quite a bit.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Annie. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Office of Office, who we're joined in person with the leads, who will be presenting.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Elise Matsuno, and I'm a designer with Office of Office, and I'm also the program manager for our Community Rebuilding Response Program. So who is Office of Office? We're a nonprofit planning and architecture organization based in LA. Our team offers a diverse range of expertise in architectural projects of varying scales and scopes. And then since January of 2025, we have provided pro bono and discounted design services to wildfire impacted homeowners seeking to rebuild. A little bit more about our program. We started in 2025, and the CRR program has conducted over 160 intake interviews with families, partnered with over 10 organizations, and we have supported 43 families through conceptual design packages. So our case management includes policy and advocacy, land use review, budgeting guidance, and architectural drawings. Included in that, it's broken down into 3 individual conversations with our design staff that include a work plan that help you outline your timeline and cost estimates, and then identify supportive strategies and a refined set of design plans. So here's just an overview of what those 3 meetings. Oh, sorry. Okay, hopefully you can all hear me now. Sorry. So our 3 meetings consist of have kind of 3 different focuses. So a feasibility package, which is looking at what you can build on your lot, some expected financial kind of projections, and looking at what those different design options could look like on your specific lot. Meeting 2 focuses on your layout and your style. So looking at floor plans based off of feedback that you've given us. And so we think about everything from where is the bathroom window, where do you want your bedrooms to face, and also making sure that it is compliant with any Altadena or LA City design standards. Our final meeting is looking at this conceptual design package, which consists of a plan, which is refined through feedback from meeting 2, along with elevations. So looking at kind of what the house from the exterior will look like. And that's where talking about style is really important in meeting 2. So here's our timeline. It takes us about 2 to 3 weeks once we do our kind of initial intake call to gather different documentation and look at your zoning and do a feasibility study with different, what we call test fits. So looking at what those different configurations of buildings might look like on your lot. And then that is in partnership kind of with those financial projections. So you're able to see how different design choices might impact your budget. Meeting 2 happens about 4 to 5 weeks after that, once we get your feedback. And that's when we will be reviewing plans and those layouts that we talked about. And then once we get your feedback from that meeting, it's another about 4 to 5 weeks. And that's when we'll be looking at your conceptual design package and a more honed in estimate of your budget. Here's an example of what a lot study might include. It will look at things like, where is your fire zone? What are different zoning limitations or overlays, how that might impact your lot? Are there protected trees and things like that? And so we'll give you kind of a little study, so you can understand and also become familiar with the different lingo that you might encounter during the rebuild process. Here is an example of a pro forma budget, sort of taking into account those soft costs and hard costs that Dominique mentioned earlier, along with different insurance line items, and just keeping in mind that some insurance money can be used to rebuild while some cannot. So just keeping track of what can and cannot be used. Here is an example of what some of those refined floor plans look like. An example of elevations. And the idea is with these drawings, these aren't drawings that you can take to permitting, but they are drawings that you can take to a design build contractor or an engineer or another architect who can take you through permitting. And the idea is that all of our services are pro bono. So before you engage these other professionals, you have a clear idea of what your budget will be, what you're interested in, and you know that you're going forward with a project that you can afford. And so that cuts out and that cost that might be incurred to do all of these kind of initial studies and design development. And you can go to someone and say, this is what I want. I understand what I'm looking at. I understand my law and any potential kind of limitations, and you're prepared for what might come. So we'll give you, along with kind of that pie chart spreadsheet, also a breakdown of looking at your different budget options. So we can, depending on what you are interested in as a homeowner, some people are interested in looking at what it would cost to rebuild exactly what they had, while other people are looking at, okay, so based off of my resources, how can I get what I want? Other people might say, you know what, I'm willing to put extra funds in to make sure I get exactly, XYZ thing. And oftentimes we find, though, that people want to try to find some in between all of these options. And so that's where having our services be pro bono, it allows you to have that dialogue without incurring extra costs. So I also have flyers in person for those of you in person, and our program booklet, but with more information about our program and where you can sign up if you're interested, or have a kind of an interest call where we can talk one-on-one about the program. There's also the QR code right here where you can fill that out, and we'll email you this information. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact us. Oh yeah, so I just want to, sorry if the thought wasn't clear, our services are completely pro bono. There might be other costs that come up that we suggest, like hiring a surveyor. That's a contract in kind of an exchange that you will have directly with the surveyor. That's not covered in our services, but our design services are completely pro bono. Oh, pro bono means free. Yeah. Oh, no. It's not a paid, yeah. No, thank you for asking that. Yeah, our services are free. A lease? Matsuno, yeah. And I have cards and
Yeah.
yes. Yes,
we do have-
yes.
Mhm.
You can also find more information about us on the LA Rebuild Hub, and that is both in English and Spanish. And translations of the intake survey are also available. So someone asked if we are able to do like plans and drawings based off of photographs. Is that your question? Yeah, that is something that we're able to do. So there'll be things that of course cannot be exact, but we have worked with a number of people who said, okay, I've gathered some photos from family gatherings or whatever. You can see the house in the background. How can we kind of, figure out how to draw plans? And that's something we actually do quite often. Yeah, and so adjustments can be made, whether that's due to personal preference or budget kind of restrictions, and oftentimes it's trying to negotiate those two things to figure out how can you get what you want and what fits your needs within your budget. Mhm.
Any other questions? So. Thank you. So now we are going to, let me check. We're going to pass it. Amounts. Now we're going to go through the new website that we've been mentioning, the LA Rebuild Hub. So I have a closing. We do have HPP Cares, Catherine, who is able to speak as well today. So we're working on having her join us as a panelist. But before then, we're going to go to the LA Rebuild Hub, which is a new website that just launched that has some great resources on there as well. And so I mentioned that all of the recordings from today and prior webinars are going to be on the website. There are a few areas here. If you go to the Plan Your Rebuild tab, we have tips on a lot of the information that we share today is going to be on the website. We have all the steps that I outlined in the presentation, those links to the ZMIS and ZNet, as well as a checklist to make sure that you are having all of your ducks in a row before you go to the planning centers. We have a permitting tracker. There is a floor bank that Office of Office has put together with various designs. We also have that template that I mentioned for the budget, as well as partner selection. We have a Q&A or questions that you can ask the contractors that you were thinking about to get information and make sure they're the right contractor for you. We do also have a policy area, so you can track any active policies that may be impacting your rebuild, as well as a glossary of all the terms. There are a lot of terms with rebuilding, and so we put together a glossary for that information. And we also have the tab that has the various grants that are currently open. And then there's also we added contractor area. If you're looking for a contractor, go down. We have some vetted contractors that have completed the Center by Lendistry's certification program. And so we have their information here, and we're going to be continuing to add vetted contractors to the list. And so I'm going to stop sharing because we now have Catherine Peoples here. And so I will turn the mic over to Catherine. Thank you so much for being able to join us and your flexibility. Catherine, are you there?
There we go. Wonderful. Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. So Catherine Peoples here, the Executive Director and founder of the Rebuild Center. Our organization provides what is known as rebuild case management. It is the phase 2 outside of the disaster case management, where we take survivors through the A to Z process. Whether you're uninsured, underinsured, or fully insured, our organization can assist you if the home survived and or perished in the fire. Our organization can take you through those one-off questions where you simply need to just get the home remediated, and in turn need support vetting the remediation companies and ensuring that they're doing their work. Or if in fact you need someone to hold your hand through the process. A lot of organizations are providing an amazing assortment of resources, but sometimes the actual hand holding, taking the survivor through the process from surveys, from in turn ensuring that the soil testing has been done, vetting your architect, ensuring that they're licensed and have the appropriate bonds and insurances. Our organization will support you through that. We also sit with you and go through that one-on-one architectural plan set, making sure that the design fits the living arrangement. Some survivors are looking at maximizing on their lot space. So ensuring that you're having the conversation about do you or would you like a carport versus a garage, and does an ADU, whether it's a junior ADU or an attached or detached ADU, is something that you're looking for. Our organization also touts ourselves in being the location where in turn we couple our education with what is known as the Rebuild Experience Lab, where you can come to our location, which is at the Eaton Fire Collaboratory, 540 West Woodbury, right next to the One Stop, and you can actually touch and feel the materials that should be put into the home to ensure fire resiliency. And you say to yourself, or many of you may say to yourself, well, I've never built a home before. When you come through HPP Cares program, you not only are in turn provided a structural strategy on getting yourself back home, you actually are able to touch and feel the materials that need to go into the home and must be discussed even at the design phase, where in turn you're talking about a certain type of brand guard vent that ensures that the embers do not impact the home. We talk about the fire hardening, and we teach you and show you the materials that need to go into your home. And so that is some of the additional services our organization provides. Many of you feel that you're uninsured or you're underinsured, and you're trying to figure out those gap funds or that financing piece. Our intern organization will, in fact, support you in figuring out the cost. And I think one of the challenges that we see when we do meet with our survivors is we find our survivors are being told that they are needing X amount of dollars and they need to try to find certain type of funding. But in turn, the person who's speaking to you may be a professional contractor, but in the same breath has not looked at an approved set of plans. So it's important that you really take the process and the time to sit down with someone and go through the motions of ensuring you truly understand what is needed in order to get the process going. I want to really pause a moment because the young lady that spoke before me indicated that you need to get a survey. And we have seen many challenges where survivors are not getting surveys and they're not realizing that potentially the neighbor to the north or south or east, west of their property is encroaching on their lot. What does that mean? That means that possibly a survivor around your parcel has in turn started the rebuild process and could potentially be building on your land. So it's very important to sit down and really strategize who you're going to talk to, how you're going to talk to them, and get the questions and answers done. And so in this meeting, we will be providing a checklist similar to the young lady before us, but it takes you through what I need to get done, what questions I need to ask of that portion or that phase that I'm in of the professional. Our organization really has stepped in as the group that really is policing, and I say that, the individuals that are working in our communities. And you say, Catherine, what do you mean by policing? We're policing those because we do have survivors that have been taken advantage of. And this is a reality, and it's an unfortunate aspect of this. So when you are introduced to a contractor, you're provided a list on a website of contractors or architects who are looking to support you. I really ask that you partner or ask your disaster case manager. And if you don't have one, come by the Rebuild Center and allow us to vet those individuals. It takes a little of 5 minutes for me to either contact the state and or go into the various systems that we have access to ensure that they are who they say they are. And you say, well, why would someone be in Altadena with that demeanor of maybe not being who they say they are? There is an opportunity here to support survivors. There's a lot of opportunity when it comes to folks that have insurance. And so to some aspects, some people are here and they are actively doing work in our community, and they are not licensed and bonded to do the work. I will tell you a little quick story with regards to that. We have individuals who are saying they are licensed. The question is, what type of license did someone have that works in Altadena and doing construction? You really want to look to see that you've got someone who is actually a General B licensed contractor. Those are the individuals that can come in and work in our community. You want to make sure that they are actually the licensee, not someone who is utilizing someone's license and doing the work, but utilizing the license. If you happen to fall into that place, you could potentially be liable for worker comp issues, and the fact if a subcontractor is hurt on your property. And it just really sets you up for a very challenging situation in the event there's anything that occurs because there isn't a licensed professional on the project. So I would just behoove you to take your time, even though I know you're a little anxious. Start the process with speaking with some of the nonprofits that you've seen today on the session, and or come by the Eaton Fire Collaboratory, see the Rebuild Center, and talk with a Rebuild case manager who can kind of get a strategy together for you on what you need to do, the various steps. And as I started with, you can be uninsured, underinsured, or even fully insured. The home could have perished in the fire, or it could have been sustained, and you're just needing remediation services. Our organization can answer and put a strategy together and go step by step with you, as we've done with many survivors who are in this process and need the support to get them from A to Z. All of our services are free, or AKA pro bono, as that was mentioned earlier. And our phone line, which is here on the screen, is on 24/7, 365 days of the year. Our operations is Monday through Friday, and you can go to the Rebuild Center and see many of the various guides and one-sheeters that our organization has put together. If you're working with your insurance company and you need to know the steps to that, our organization has a sheet for it. If you're looking to see what rebates you need to make sure that you are getting on your materials that you are talking with your contractors about, you want to ensure that that one-sheeter is right in front of you so you can ask those questions. As I know, many of you have never built a home, or maybe someone has on this call built a home. It is not an easy task. And unfortunately, there are people within our community that are here to prey upon that. So I urge you to move extremely cautious, ask the questions, ask multiple questions, ask multiple people about different groups and individuals that you possibly are going to get in contract with. And if you want someone to look at your contract, our organization does the contractual reviews to ensure that all the specifics and details that need to be in that contract are in place. We not only are contractors license board certified and trained, we in turn also provide the rebuild case management and the disaster case management aspect of this. I hope you found this information relative to your journey. And I just want you to know that we are here to support you wherever you are in the journey. You've selected a contractor, you're looking to get a contractor. The agency is here to vet and to be that person who stands in front and make sure that your journey home is successful and without any negative or any challenges you could possibly have. Again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for joining us, and again, your flexibility for joining us today. Any questions for Catherine? Anyone in the audience? And if you're online, please use the Q&A. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for joining us and for your flexibility. All right, I'll share my screen just to give a few more closing remarks. We were going through the hub. We also have this event area where we've been keeping a calendar of all the webinars, and we will continue to add events that are on here. And then we also have support. You're able to submit, there's an interest form here if you would like to get more direct one-on-one support as well. So I will include website in the recap email, but encourage you all to explore as well. A few closing remarks. I wanted to share a few mental health resources here on the screen. Rebuilding is challenging financially, but also mentally. And so please make sure you are paying attention to your mental health for yourself, for your neighbors, and sharing resources that you come upon. We've came across these ones and wanted to share them with with everyone here today in person as well as by Zoom. Awesome. And then we have one more webinar in this series, and that one is going to be focused on our renters and our mobile homeowners. We're going to focus on advocacy and how they can work with their landlords to get remediation done. And then for our mobile home homeowners, there are various grant programs that Habitat LA is running right now to support their rebuild for those that are rebuilding in the Pacific Palisades areas in those two major parks that were destroyed. And so please join us for those. If it's not maybe an area topic for yourself, sharing it with someone that you know that may have been in those population groups that would benefit from the resources. And thank you so much for joining us. We would love to hear your feedback. Brian will be dropping a form in the chat for those that are virtually, and then I should have put a QR code for everyone that was here in person, but I'll attach it to the recap email, and would love to hear your feedback on today's session as well. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all.